Calladita, te ves más bonita. Quiet little girls are more beautiful, is what I constantly heard growing up. Calm down. Can you sit still? Stop asking so many questions. Even though I was just being a kid, a curious kid, a kid who wanted to know why and how and what. But I was always told no. And while I was going to school, as you can see, I have a cane because I'm visually impaired, legally blind. I was declared legally blind when I was 8.5. By the time I got to junior high, I had to be in a program that was only for visually impaired students that happened to take place at a local high school, which was Ontario High School. And one of my favorite things, even though I was always told no and stop moving, was actually to move and run and play and jump and all the things that most kids do that can see. But for me, it was a little bit more challenging. But this mile circuit that we did every spring was the most fun because every time we would run, and I had my friend Christian, who I always competed with, and I thought, I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him this time. I'm gonna beat him. And I kept going, and my feet and my breath and the heat, and I crossed that finish line. And then Miss Kay says, Gladys, Coach Cook saw you running. Okay. He wants to know if you want to be part of the cross-country team. Cross-country? What's that? Now, mind you, I'm a first generation, so I have no idea about sports. I didn't know that people ran for fun. And so Miss Kay says, yeah, she said it's a group of students that get together and they run and they compete and they go to different schools and they have meets and they have award ceremonies. And all I heard was time after school, don't have to go home, and supervised? Sign me up. So I joined the cross-country team. And let me tell you, oh Lord, was this just the piece of cake and chocolate and anything that I had been waiting for. Because I could go out there and run and be free and feel the wind and my heart thumping and my breath. And I felt so alive. I felt so free. Not only that, but it gave me equanimity. Because when I was running, no one could tell that I was blind. Not even the other teammates. I would forget that I'm blind, which is probably why I ran into a couple of fences and poles and, things that happen to everyone, right? But there was an actual reason. And so then one of the meets that I remember the most to this day, it was at Mount Sac. Because Mount Sac is a junior college with a beautiful, beautiful campus. I could see a lot more then. Now it's like very limited shadows. So this is why I have my cane now. And one of the things that I remember from Mount Sac was the bustling of people and kids and popcorn and hot dogs and cupcakes and teammates all around Southern California meet here to race against each other. So while it's all beautiful and cheer, I'm feeling the worst. Because I am in the middle of the course. I'm treading up the hill and walking slowly and thinking, what am I doing here? This is not for me. I'm not like one of those kids who has parents and supportive family members who come to their meets and watch them run and they cheer and they say, good job, honey, you'll get it. You'll do better next time. Was Coach Cook wrong? Why did he pick me? I was just happy beating my friend Christian. That's all I wanted. But I finally crossed the finish line. And my teammates are there. And they say, Gladys, oh my gosh, we were so worried about you. Some of them said that they actually ran up those hills. after the race to try to go find me. And I thought, oh my gosh. And they said, are you okay? How are you feeling? And with tears almost bursting out, I said, I don't know. And then Coach Cook pulled me aside and he said, Gladys, it's okay. You did fine. This is exactly why I wanted you to join ahead of time, because he found me in 7th grade. He got me into the group in 8th grade. So I technically was still not a high schooler. But he said I could redshirt. And so he continues to explain that this year was supposed to be my year to train and get better. And he said, don't tell anyone this, but sometimes I was the last one coming in. Really? Are you serious, Coach Cook? You run like miles and miles and miles, and you train all of us, and you show us how to run and how to breathe and how to get better. I could not believe that this man, at some point in his life, was not the first person crossing that finish line. But he says, yeah. He said, so it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And I know that one day you are going to be a great runner too. So I took his word, because there was nothing else. And then, as I continued to run, I realized that that day, the terca came out in me. Terca, translation, stubborn. What I've been called my whole life. Turns out, as an adult, it's persistence. So, to each their own, you know. I'm persistent now. So that's one of the first things that I learned, because when I was in the middle of that course, well, there was probably 2 reasons. I couldn't get off because I didn't know how to go back. So I had to follow the lines and the cones. But I learned to be determined, and I continued to be determined. And what Coach Cook was talking about was consistent, because he said it takes time for you to refine this skill, this running skill. And so my freshman year, I now was an official high schooler. One of my best friends, her name is Janet Cortez. And that's another gift that cross country brought for me. It brought me friends, it brought me an outdoor activity, and it brought me connection. And I remember Janet because she would come to my module, and then we would go to the locker rooms and we would get dressed and we would go out and run. And everyone was so like, yeah, let's do it. And I wasn't always the first one, but I also wasn't always the last one by now. And so then her boyfriend says one time while we're having lunch, he says, Gladys, when you run, try to be a little more linear. You know, like pump your arms and raise your knees. And if you do that, you'll have longer strides and you will have better times. All I heard was, you won't be the last one next time. So I was like, yes, I'm taking that. So I did. And even though we moved from Ontario to Fontana during that freshman year, I got other coaches at Kaiser High School who were also, I don't know why, but they were very excited that a blind girl was going to join their cross-country team. And I said, yeah, I want to run. And then I found out about track. And that was even more fun because it was easier. I didn't have to go up and down hills or rocks or anything like that. And I remember practice, we used to do drills where they would put a parachute on you and then you'd throw it back and then you'd run. And so it was resistance training. It was just so amazing. And again, even right now, just talking about it, the excitement and the emotion and the I can do anything, it always came to me. And I think they call it runner's high. But it's a real thing, look it up. And so I continued to run, and it just opened doors for me. As a matter of fact, my university accepted me because they saw an article where I was featured called Blind Ambition. And I just couldn't believe it. One of the things that I also couldn't believe was the fact that I was hitting my senior year. And remember, I started when I was in 8th grade. And I started the very, very last one coming in, not just out of my high school, well, which was technically not my high school, but not just out of the high school group. It was all of the other high schools that I was the last person coming in. And by the time I graduated or was about to graduate, I was the very first Kaiser Cat female to cross that finish line. Yay. And one of the reasons is, to this day, I won't forget, we had a meet, I don't remember the high school, but we had a meet against another high school, and that coach was telling the runner behind me, you got her, you're almost there, you're on her heels, you can get her. And when I heard that, all I heard was, you're not going to break my streak. I'm not going to lose my having first place every meet so far. And so that pushed me. And that's another thing that I learned. I learned that whether people say good things or whether people say bad things, however we absorb it, we can take it for encouragement. My grandmother always says, take it as a lesson. If it's someone that's not good, you can see it as maybe something you don't want to do because you don't want to be like that. And I did not want to be like that coach who was encouraging his student to beat me. I mean, I know we were supposed to compete, but he could have done it in a nicer way. And the good things that we do, she says, they're things that will always benefit you at the end of the day. And so with that in mind, that is how I pushed and I dug as far as I could to not let that other student beat me and kept my streak of being the very first female Kaiser Cat to cross that finish line. And so today, ya no soy calladita. I am no longer quiet as I once was, if you can't tell. I decided to become a public speaker where I can go and share my stories, my experience, because what? People want to hear this? From a child who was constantly told, no, be quiet, don't talk? And as I continue to talk and I continued to discover my life here in the beautiful land of New Mexico, I realized that while I'm no longer quiet and I'm more talkative than I was, I also remember what my grandmother said, which is, remember, everything you do can be beneficial to you or it can be harmful to you at the end of the day. So today, Morales speaks, and they tell me I'm bonita, but I can't tell.